So, sorry? Okay, so we will review assimilation, then linking R and intrusive R, and lastly elision. Then we will go on a short break and we will practice. So let's start. So who would like to read this? Who's there? Do I have any volunteer? Jolie, would you mind reading this slide?
No problem, miss. Of course not.
Thank you.
Okay. A feature of connected speech, assimilation. The result of unconscious propensity
Mm-hmm.
propensity toward easy
Yeah, is?
of articulation and economy, right?
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yes,
economy
economy.
economy of effort. Find
Yes.
fight Finch. I don't know how to
Finch,
pronounce.
yes. Finch,
Finch and
yes.
Finch and Ortiz,
Mm-hmm.
1982.
Great.
As- assimilation is the influence of a sound on a nat- native
Neighboring.
neighboring sound,
Mm-hmm.
so that the two become similar or the same.
Exactly. Thank you. So, in the first definition that we have is from Finch and Ortiz. That's a book from 1982. A bit old, but that's a good definition. Now, in easier words, assimilation is a sound change in which some phonemes, typically consonants or vowels, change to be more similar to other neighboring or nearby sounds. So it is a common type of phonological process across languages. So it doesn't only happen in English, it can happen in other languages as well. But of course, we're studying English, so we will review this in English. So assimilation, it can occur either within a word or between words. So you can find assimilation on one single word or in two words. So it depends, and it occurs in normal speech, but it is more frequent when someone is speaking fast. In rapid speech, it is more common. Yes, so that would be the broad definition of assimilation. Then we have progressive assimilation. Can William read this slide, please? Is William there? No? Maybe, maybe Diana? Diana, would you mind reading Diana Marin? Yes?
Yes,
Thank
here.
you.
So, everything?
Uh-huh.
Uh,
If you want, you can read the
sorry,
definition and I can give you the example.
sorry, I couldn't hear you well.
If you want, I can give you the examples and you read the definition.
Oh, okay. So,
Yes.
features of connected speech. Progressive assimilation. Assimilation in which a preceding sound has an effect on a following one.
Uh-huh, perfect. So in this type of assimilation, it occurs when a previous sound has an influence on the following sound. So the first sound influences the second one, right? Here we have the example dogs, and we can see that the g sound in dogs is voiced, which changes the sound into a voiced s, making the pronunciation dogs, dogs, right? With a sit at the end of the word instead of an s. Um, I'm skipping the first example because that's more clear, so I want to mention it at the end. Next, we have the example students, right? The t sound is voiceless, which makes the plural z sound to be voiceless too, and therefore it is pronounced like students, and not with a s sound with as the example of dogs, right? Now the first example that we have is up and about, right? If we use assimilation in this example, we would say up and about, up and about. So the p sound plus the n sound would change to an n sound. And the example would be again, up and about. Is it clear? What do you think? So remember that in progressive assimilation, the preceding sound has an effect on the following sound. Okay, clear?
Yes.
Yes?
Can you repeat the example of students, please? I didn't
The
catch it.
students? Yes.
Yes,
So
please.
no worries, no worries. So in students, the t sound is voiceless, right? T, which makes the plural sound to be voiceless too. So it would be pronounced students, and not with the sit as in dogs, right? It would be students, students. Do you see? Would you like Camilo to read this example to see if it is pronounced correctly?
The first one?
The students.
Okay, students. It says.
Yes. So right. It was correct. Yes. Did you notice the difference in the pronunciation of z sound instead of s in dogs? There is a difference there.
It's a little difference, yeah.
Yes. Great. Any other questions? Is it clear? Okay, so let's move into regressive assimilation. So this happens when the second element in question influences the first one. Do you remember that in progressive assimilation, the first one influences the second one? Okay, so in this one, the second element, influences the first one, making a change. Sorry? Okay, so making a change in the first element in order to adapt the articulation of the following element. So, in other words, trying to make it easier to understand, the second element changes the first one in order for us to have an easier articulation. So, in these examples, we have the sounds, and it becomes a p. We anticipate the articulation for the following sound, right? So it would be a bad person, a bad person. So the plus the p or v or m sound would change to a v. So it would be a bad person, a sad break, or a good man. Do you see can you hear we will listen to native people saying it, but can you notice the change? Because if we were to read these examples normally, we would say a bad person, right? Or a sad break, or a good man. But in faster speech, it would not be pronounced like that. Do you see the differences? Is it clear? Yes?
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Thank you. So let's move and watch an example.
Hi, I'm Tim, and this is my pronunciation workshop. Here, I'm going to show you how English is really spoken. Come on, let's go inside. Now, these days, when you go to a real shop, do you prefer to pay by cash or by plastic? What do we call one of these? Now, I'm sure you already know, but let's hear what the people of London call it.
It's a credit card.
Credit card. Credit card. Credit card.
Credit card.
A credit card. Now, the word credit ends in the sound t, doesn't it? Or does it? Watch and listen again. What sound can you actually hear?
It's a credit card.
Credit card. Credit card. Credit card.
Credit card.
In fluent speech, when one word ends in a vowel sound followed by a t, and the next word begins with a k sound, the t changes to a k. So credit card becomes credit card. It's an example of assimilation. And here are some more examples.
Don't let it get cold.
You have to do it quickly.
There's no shortcut to learning a language.
I didn't like that cake.
Right. So you've heard the examples, and now it's your turn. You know the drill. Listen and repeat.
Don't let it get cold.
You have to do it quickly.
There's no shortcut to learning a language.
I didn't like that cake.
Well done. Now remember, if you want to learn more about
Okay, so now let's move on to a coalescent assimilation. So as we mentioned, progressive and regressive. In progressive, the first sound influences the second one, and regressive, the second one influences the first one. Now, in coalescent assimilation, both sounds influence each other and meet at a point in between regarding pronunciation. Okay, so this phenomenon refers to when both of the sounds influence each other. So they change, but they change into a sound that ends up being a mixture of the original sounds. Like you can see in the first example. So we have t, and then which is an alveolar sound, right? And then we have j, is a palatal sound, sorry. So it's like they meet at a point in between and they become a palato-alveolar sound. And it would be put your shoes on, put your shoes on. Now, if we read that example without assimilation, it would be put your shoes on, right? So it would be different because with this phenomenon, the sounds, it's like they merge and they combine, and they are not the first sound. For instance, t is not anymore t, and yeah is not anymore yeah. It changes into a point in between, and it will change into put your shoes on, j. Is that example clear? Can I have someone pronouncing that example? So I can see that you are understanding so far. Should I pick someone? Can Jennifer Muñoz read the example? Are you there? No?
I can read.
Jolly? Yes, thank you. Thank you.
All right. The first one is T as G is put your shoes on.
Right, perfect. Very well done. So in the following example, we have the and je again. And this one is a rather common example. This is a sentence that we can hear a lot. Or not necessarily with the notice, but did you hear or did you understand? So if we used coalescent assimilation here, it would be did you notice? Did you notice? And if we were not to use it, let's think that we don't want to use coalescent assimilation, we would pronounce it did you notice? Now in faster speech, you most commonly will hear it like did you notice, right? Can someone else pronounce this example? Nelson Parrao, would you mind?
The second example, right?
Yes, please.
Did you notice?
So remember that in you can see that here we have the phonetic transcription, right? So the change would be I don't know if, let me put the pen or the pointer so you can see. So that you would use you would see a change here. So it would be did you notice? So the j sound would be here.
With j? With
Yes.
that sound? Okay.
Yes.
Did you notice?
Yes. Very well done. Thank you. So let's now move to. Is it clear before we continue? Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. So thank you. So let's move into linking R. So words that are spelled with an R at the end, use the R sound to link the next word if that word begins with a vowel. So I think we have seen this before, and linking R is when in a non-rhotic accent, you have to remember that in a non-rhotic accent, like the British accent, you pronounce the R sound at the end of a word or a syllable as long as the following sound is a vowel sound. So it has to be followed by a vowel sound in order for it to work. So one important thing about linking R is that it is optional. It is not mandatory. You will not you will be understood if you don't use it. But this is very commonly used in non-rhotic accents. Now, we have here an example that is, I'm going to read it without the linking R. So it would be, can somebody call for an ambulance? So if we read it like very in a paused manner, it would be understood anyways, right? But usually you will hear it like, can somebody call for an ambulance? So the for and the an would be joined together, like if the word was foran instead of for and an, like two separate words. We will see more examples of this. So here we have more examples. So the first one would be four apples. Four apples. If we pronounce it with a linking R, it's like the two words become one, right? Four apples. Now, the same with the second example. War and peace. That's how we would pronounce it. But in a non-rhotic accent, we would say war and peace, war and peace. Like we would join these two words together and it becomes one. And now for the third example, at the end of the slide, it can be pronounced in two different ways. And I put this example here so you could see that it is not really mandatory or an obligation to use linking R. So in the first example, you can see what's more I like it, and you can see the phonetic transcription here, by the way, but you can see that there is an intrusive R there because it is a sentence that is pronounced fluently, like really fast to say in some way. And in the second part of the third example, we have what's more, post, I like it. So it doesn't have a linking R, and it is perfectly understood, right? So with linking R, it would be what's more, I like it, and without it would be what's more, I like it. Do you see the differences there? Do you think it's clear? A video so you can see more examples.
Hi, I'm Tim, and this is my pronunciation workshop. Here, I'm going to show you how English is really spoken. It'll help you become a better listener and a more fluent speaker. Come on, let's go inside. Today, we're going to be talking about war. War. What is it good for? Well, as it turns out, it can be used to help illustrate a feature of fluent speech. As you can see, we write war with three letters, W, A, and R. But when we pronounce it, there are only two sounds, W, or. The R in the spelling is not pronounced in the word itself, or if the next word begins with a consonant sound. But have a listen to this. We went out and asked people in the streets of London to name a famous Russian book. This is what they said.
The most famous Russian book I can think of is War and Peace. War and Peace.
War and Peace.
War and Peace.
Simple, right? Everybody knows War and Peace.
I've never heard of the book War and Peace.
Well, almost everybody. But have another listen to the way they say it.
It's War and Peace. War and Peace.
War and Peace.
War and Peace. War and Peace.
The word after war begins with a vowel sound, and in this case, the R is pronounced. War and peace. War and peace. This is called a linking R, and it helps to make the words flow together more smoothly in natural speech. Here are some more examples.
You know, I really like my mother-in-law.
Have you been to the Tower of London?
You've got something in your eye.
Never again.
So, you've heard the examples. Now it's your turn. Are you ready to give it a try? Listen and repeat.
You know, I really like my mother-in-law.
Have you been to the Tower of London?
You've got something in your eye.
Never again.
How did you get on? Great! Remember, if you want to read more...
Okay, did you notice that all the examples that they gave us started, the second word started with a vowel, right? That's the main the main requirement in order for linking R to happen. Now we're gonna change into intrusive R. So when a word does not have an R in the spelling and the next word begins with a vowel sound, an R sound is sometimes added between these words, even if there is no R in the spelling. Remember that. So intrusive R can sometimes be confusing because it might seem similar, or it might you might get confused with linking. However, intrusive R, as we already mentioned, happens when you have no R in the spelling. So let's see the examples. Yes. So here we have law and order. If we were to read it with with erotic accent, we would read it law and order, right? It's important. The rest of the sentence is there, but law and order is important. But if we read it with a non-rhotic accent, yes, it would be law and order is important. Law and order. So the change would happen after law. Law and order. Law would join the following sound with an R. So this usually happens. Have you ever heard a British person or a person that speaks with a non-rhotic accent saying the TV show Peppa Pig? Because this is a funny memory that I have when I was studying this topic. The example that they gave us was Peppa Pig, and I was really confused. But then I noticed that in non-rhotic accents, they say Peppa Pig, and they use the intrusive R. So that's a fun example to remember. It has stuck with me for the rest of the years, and that's how I am able to remember what intrusive R is, thanks to Peppa Pig. Who would say, right? So is it clear? We're gonna see more examples in a video, but I want to know if it's clear when this happens. What do you think? Clear or not? Do you want me to explain that again?
Yes, please.
Yes? Okay. Let's go back. So this happens when a word does not have the R in the spelling, right? So do you see an R here in law?
No.
No, right? So it doesn't have an R sound, but we added, well, I mean, not we, but people who speak with a non-rhotic accent, like British people, they add the R sound, and it would sound like law and order. Now, in a easier example, let's use Peppa Pig, okay? Because we all know how to write Peppa Pig. So in that example, we also don't have an R in the spelling, right? Peppa Pig, there is no R. But when we are speaking, we add the R sound, so it would be Peppa Pig. Okay, so that's basically all that you have to remember. That the difference between linking R and intrusive R is that linking happens when there is an R, but then intrusive R happens when there is no R in the spelling. So that is how you can differentiate them.
Miss?
Tell me.
But in
In the PPT, it says the next word begins with a vowel sound. And Peppa Pig doesn't have a vowel sound
Right?
in the...
Yes, but that's a good example anyways, but that can happen. But usually you can find that that when the next word starts with a vowel sound. But that's a phenomenon that happens, and it will change depending on the scenarios, but try to remember it that way when it starts with a vowel sound. Now, I'm sure that there is a deeper explanation as to why, but that's the way they speak. That's the way they use it. But we will see more examples, so it's clearer for you. So we have in the first one, we have sofa and chairs. I'm gonna read them with a rhotic accent, or what we would say as an American accent, for instance. So it would be sofa and chairs, or Formula A, and then America and Europe. And if we use intrusive R in these examples, the first one would be sofa and chairs, sofa and chairs. So here, in between sofa and we would add the intrusive R, and then in Formula A would be Formula A. So it would appear an intrusive R here. It would you would find an intrusive R in between Formula and A. And lastly, in America and Europe, we would say Americar and Europe. That's an interesting pronunciation, but it would be America and Europe. So you can find that in the, you can notice the changes in the phonetic transcriptions that you have next to the examples. So America and Europe, you can see the intrusive R in here, right? We will watch a video so it's clearer, a video from the same videos that we have been watching so far, but you can find these videos in BBC, in the YouTube of BBC, and I can send them to you if you think that they are useful. So let's check them.
Hi, I'm Tim, and this is my pronunciation workshop. Here, I'm going to show you how English is really spoken. It'll help you become a better listener and a more fluent speaker. Come on, let's go inside. Have you ever seen a ghost? No, of course you haven't, because they don't exist. But have you ever heard a sound that wasn't there? Well, if you've listened to lots of real English, you probably have. We asked the people of London what they think is the most important thing the government should prioritise. This is what they said.
I think law and order is important. Yes, I think law and order is important.
Law and order is very important.
We all think that law and order is important.
I think law and order is very important.
Meet my boys. Law and order. Join them together with the word and you can hear another sound after the word law. Listen out for it.
I think law and order is important. Yes, I think law and order is important.
Law and order is very important.
We all think that law and order is important.
I think law and order is very important.
In fluent speech, if a word ends in an or sound, like law, and the next word begins in an you'll often hear a r sound linking them together. Law and order. Law and order. Law and order is easier to say than law and order. It flows better, and this is called intrusion. Now, this is a little bit controversial. It doesn't happen in all accents, and some people do say it's not the proper way to speak. But it is something that you'll hear. Just remember the R sound is not very strong. Here are some other examples.
Can you draw a circle freehand?
My dog hurt its paw on some broken glass. There was a flaw in the argument.
I saw a good film last night.
Right, so you've heard the examples. Now it's your turn. Are you ready to give it a try? Listen and repeat.
Can you draw a circle freehand?
My dog hurt its paw on some broken glass. There was a flaw in the argument.
I saw a good film last night.
How did you do? Well done. Now, if you want to read more...
Okay. Did you understand that, or we can review everything shortly when we finish this? But if you have any questions, you can either ask, raise your hand, or write them on the chat box. I will be looking at it. So if you have any questions, you're more than welcome to ask them. And now let's move to Elysian. Oh, tell me.
So whenever we have a word that ends with the long O and the wedge, that we must use the linking, like the link. I don't remember the name.
The linking R. So I mean the intrusive R. Yes, because the linking. Sorry. Go on.
No, please go ahead.
Okay, so remember that the linking R is different than the intrusive R. We are now talking about the intrusive R. So remember that this is not mandatory. This is used in non-rhotic accents. So for instance, British or I mean accents from Ireland or parts that use non-rhotic accents. So that's there is a difference, but you are not obliged. It's not like you have to use the intrusive R or the linking R. But yes, it happens when you have the W sound, and then so in all the examples that Tim, the guy from the video, did were with W sound, and then at the end they have the vowel A, right? But I gave you other examples here. So you have an A, sorry, and then another A. So far and chairs, you also have the intrusive R there. But I don't know if I'm answering your question, sorry, Jolie, but it's not like you have to use it. It will be okay if you don't use it, but you will find it in non-rhotic accents when people with non-rhotic accents are speaking. So it's good if you are familiar with it, because it will be easier for you to understand why they are using it, or why they are using R's in sentences that the spelling doesn't have an R sound, right? So was it that the question or not?
Yes, miss.
Yes? Okay, thanks. Great. Any other questions?
Miss?
Tell me.
We talk about intrusive R, but just when there is the letter A, or it can be with any vowel.
You see that Tim made the example Law and Order. Yeah, so they have the A, but I would say it happens with a vowel sound. Okay, so it's not like you will find it only on A's. I will look for more examples on that, and I will come back to you and tell you if it happens, if I can find more examples with other vowel sounds. But I would say it happens with more than only A, right? Okay?
Okay, thank you, Miss.
No worries. Any other questions before we go into Elysian? Okay, so let's move into Elysian. Okay, so now we have Elysian, right? In this feature, a vowel or a consonant sound is elided, omitted, or eliminated. So Let's read the definition that we have here. Elision is the omission of sounds, syllables, or words in a speech. This is done to make the language easier to say and faster. So, as it says right there, it is the elision or the elimination of vowels or consonant sounds. So, can I have someone reading the first example? Try to, who can read it? Let's find a person first.
Me?
Daniela, perfect. Can you try to read it like without using elision? Like trying to pronounce every single sound.
Postman.
Right, yes. But do you know how it is actually pronounced? Or when you use elision?
Postman.
Right, so the T sound disappears. So it would post, if you pronounce it like with all the sounds, it would be postman. And then we can change it to postman, and the T sound disappears. Thank you. The example. Any other volunteers? Or if Daniela wants to read the second one as well. Yes, perfect. You can read, Diane, you can read the third one. Let's go with Julie first. Thank you.
Secretary.
Uh-huh. That would be the pronunciation without elision, right? Or with.
Like for example, pronouncing the word like it is. Secretary.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. And can you try to pronounce it with elision?
You got me.
That's fine. Here you have the way to pronounce it. And this word is sometimes difficult to pronounce. I would say that this word and the next one are very tricky. But so as you mentioned, Julie, and was right, if we don't use elision and we read every single sound, it would be secretary, right? Now, if we use elision, it would be secretary. Secretary. Do you see that some sounds are elided, sorry? Do you see the difference? Can you try, Julie, pronouncing this word again? Secretary.
Yes,
go on.
Secretary.
Sorry, again, my dog is barking, so I cannot not listen.
In the first one, we have secretary, and then secretary.
Great, perfect. Thank you, well done. And sorry, my dog is really barking loud. I don't know if you can hear him. Okay, so the next example, Diane, would you like to read it?
Yes, but I think that the first transcription is in the wrong way.
Uh-huh. Yes, it should have the R sound, right?
Uh-huh.
Or what? What is missing there?
I think that the word in the first should be certain, and in the second, certain.
Right. Yes, that's right. So that word, as you mentioned, when we don't use elision, we can pronounce it like certain, very strong, and then if we use elision, it would be certain, or certain. If you have a really strong non-rhotic accent, certain. But yes, that's correct. I will change the transcription later. Thank you, Diane. And the last example, who would like to read it? Any volunteers? Remember that there is no right or wrong. We're all learning here, and we all make mistakes. So it's perfectly fine if you make mistakes. I make them all the time, so it's fine. Maybe Catalina Rosales. Does your microphone work?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Perfect. Would you mind reading the last example?
Yeah, I was reading it, but I didn't find a difference.
Yeah. Try to read it. Let's check together.
Importance.
That would be with elision or without elision. What do you think?
Um, I can't see a difference between the two phonetic transcriptions.
Yeah, that's tricky as well, right? So importance, if we pronounce it without elision, I would pronounce it like importance. But then if we try to use elision, it would be importance. Importance. Do you hear the change, or am I imagining? Do you hear if I say importance, and then if I say importance? Importance. Do you hear the difference?
Yes, there is a difference between both of them.
Yeah.
But the phonetics.
The transcription is not showing, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So as I mentioned before, we all make mistakes. So we are all here learning. So that's fine. But I'm glad you can notice those mistakes, because that means that you understand how it works. So that's very good. So yes, let's watch another video, the last one, I promise, with more examples, and then we can check them all together.
Hi, I'm Tim, and this is my pronunciation workshop. Here, I'm going to show you how English is really spoken. It'll help you become a better listener and a more fluent speaker. Come on, let's go inside. Today, we're going to hear a disappearing sound. Or rather, we're not going to hear it. What is the negative form of can? Can't, right? And what's the final sound in the word can't? T, right? Or is it? How good are you at maths? Can you answer this question? Tricky. Let's ask the people of London.
Oh, sorry, I can't do it.
I can't do it.
Sorry, I can't do that. Sorry, I can't do that.
No, I can't do that.
No, sorry, I can't do that.
Well, that is very tricky indeed. I'll give you the answer in a minute, but first, did you notice the t sound at the end of the word can't? No, I don't think I did either. Let's have another listen.
Oh, sorry, I can't do it.
I can't do it.
Sorry, I can't do that. Sorry, I can't do that.
No, I can't do that.
No, sorry, I can't do that.
In everyday speech, when a t sound comes in between two consonant sounds, we often don't pronounce it. This is because it makes the words flow together more fluently. It's more difficult to say three consonants together in a row when t is in the middle. Your mouth has to do too much work. I can't do it is more difficult to say than I can't do it. When a sound disappears in between two words, it's called elision. Here are some other examples.
I can't stand the rain.
It must be time to leave. Am I the first person here?
I don't want it.
So, you've heard the examples, and now it's your turn. Are you ready to give it a go? Listen and repeat.
I can't stand the rain.
It must be time to leave. Am I the first person here?
I don't want it.
How did you get on? Great! Remember, if you want to read more about this...
Okay. Did you notice the examples? Was it clear? What do you think?
Yes, it was clear.
Great.
Yes.
So, yes, perfect. So, do you think you need to review something before we continue? either assimilation or linking or intrusive or elision again? What do you think?
Miss, I have like a general question about this.
Tell me. Let's see if I can answer that. Tell me.
This is mostly like for British people,
Yeah.
right? Because mostly the words that I heard is like the British accent. For example, in my language, I say I can and I can't, but they are like, they say I can't and I can't, and it's personally I don't like British accents, so for me it's a little bit difficult.
Yes, well, that's interesting because I think that British accent is kind of romanticized, or like a lot of people really like British accent, and I personally think it's beautiful, but I think it's way more difficult than the American accent, and it might be related to the fact that we usually learn American accent or rhotic accent when we study. Or when we watch TV, or when sometimes we listen to music, most of the times we are listening to American accent, or rhotic accent. So it would be easier for us to understand. But yes, so answering to your question, this is specifically related to British or non-rhotic accent. Now, all the videos that I showed you are from the British BBC, so of course the examples and everything will be in the British accent. But you notice that the pronunciation, even from the examples that I gave you and were not in the videos, are British as well. So that's a good question and a good point to make. It's mostly British. Yes. Any other questions? Or would you like, as I said before, would you like to review something again? Because I will explain what the practice will be, but in order for you to practice, I think you need to understand how all of them work. So if you have questions, you can tell me, and we still have time to review them.
Miss, maybe
Tell me.
I don't know if you can go a little bit back in
Yes.
the linking part.
Linking R.
Yes, Miss.
Here we are. What do you want me to explain it again, or you have a specific question?
Yeah, maybe you can just explain it a little bit again, and that's it. Please.
Yes. So no worries. Yes. So remember that this happens when we have an R sound, when the R sound is in the spelling. And for instance, we have the example here, for, right? We can see that the word for ends with an R, right? With an R sound. So it is followed by a vowel. When it is followed by a vowel, it could be an O, or it could be any vowel. You will most commonly find that this word would become, it's like it becomes one when pronouncing it, but it doesn't really become one because the spelling has to be separated. But when you are listening to it, or when you are pronouncing it, it would just try to imagine that it becomes one word. So the R, it's like the R joins the following word with it, right? So for an would become foran. It's like it was one word. So we can see more examples here. We have the R, right? And then we have a vowel. If we join them together, it would be 4 apples. Now, if we don't use linking R, it would be 4 apples. It's like there's a small pause in between the two words. Do you see the difference?
Yes, Miss. It's much clearer now.
Yes?
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yes.
Now we can see the other two examples as well, because we are here. Why not? So this example was actually in the video. We have war and peace. We have the R, and then we have a vowel, and the R joins the two words. It's like war and peace. Now, if we don't use linking, we would say war and peace. Right? Okay. Any other questions before we continue? No?
No, Miss.
Perfect. Okay, let's move into we will have a brain break, so you can relax a bit. But before that, I will ask you. I mean, I will not ask you. I will tell you what we will be doing in the second half of the hour. So in order for you to be prepared when you come back, so I will ask you to gather in pairs. I think you're 14, so I think it will be okay. But in case someone has to go, you can be in groups of 3, but try to be in pairs. So gather in pairs and create a short dialogue between 2 speakers. The dialogue has to contain assimilation, linking R, intrusive R, and elision. And you will be asked to share your screen and read the dialogue for the rest of the class. So to the rest of the class, sorry. So we will work on this all the second half of the class, so you will have time to prepare it. The dialogue should contain more than 10 lines, at least one type of assimilation, either progressive, regressive, or coalescent, and at least one example of each feature, right? So, and also you have to highlight the features and identify them, okay? Do you think it's clear? So, sorry, before I continue explaining, I will ask you when we come back, not now, to create a Zoom meeting and send the link through the chat box in Teams. Do you know how to create Zoom meetings? Because that's the only way that Professor Bruno and I can check your progress. So this, I will leave this in when you're practicing and working, I will leave this slide on so you know what to do. But I will ask you that when you come back, you open a Zoom meeting and send me the link in the chat box of Teams, right? So do I have any questions before we go on a break? What do you think? Is it clear? Yes?
We choose our pair.
Sorry?
We choose our mate to work with.
I don't understand you. Was it Camilo? I think it was Camilo, but I cannot.
Sorry.
Tell me.
We have to choose our
Yes.
pair. All right.
Yes, you can work with whoever you want as long as you work, and you can think about that on the break. So you come back at 6 because it's 5:50, so it's 10 to 6. So you will have a 10-minute break, and when you come back, try to send me your link fast so we can work ASAP. Okay. Then we will remember that we will review this with everyone. So we will come back to Teams after we finish, and we will start working. So go on a short break and let's talk later.